It's Thursday, February 3, 2000. I'm talking to Juel, Ulven.
Hello?
Hi, is this Juel?
No, wait one second.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hi, I was trying to reach Juel still.
Oh, sorry, okay, one second. Hey, hello?
Hi, is this Juel?
Yeah.
Juel, this is Michael Scully in Texas.
Hi.
How you doing? Good. Can you talk now?
Actually, let's see, could I ask you to call me back in about 5 minutes on another number?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Let me just,
That way the phone, the phone here will get cleared up. I've got the, I can just patch a phone in on the recorded message line that we use.
Sure. Just give it to me and I'll do that.
Okay, it's 630
Uh-huh.
844
844
3655.
3655. In about 5 minutes?
Yep.
I'll do it. All right, bye-bye.
Hello?
Hi, is this Juel?
Yeah.
Juel, okay.
I just plugged the thing in.
Oh, okay. I'm glad.
I was thinking, man. Okay.
Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, good. First, can I record this?
Yes.
It's the only way I can really keep track of.
Sure, no problem at all.
Okay, I just there's nothing I can do about it right now. But I just discovered in the last 3 minutes, I think my wife and I discovered we've got a plumbing line leaking under a hardwood floor.
Oh, wow.
It's like the floor was starting to buckle. We noticed it yesterday, and it's a floor in very good condition. And I'm saying, what's going on here? And I dried the carpet that got wet. I figured, did the dog pee or something? And then I had a fan on it, and I dried the carpet all out, and I put it back, and it's wet again. And my wife says, it's coming up from the floor. So this I learned 2 minutes ago.
Well, we can reschedule.
No, there's nothing I can do about it, and it's not like there's water gushing out of my house.
Yeah.
There is a slow leak that's got to be addressed tomorrow morning, I think. Well, immediately, but I don't think it's going to be addressed at this moment. So anyway, let's go along, and then we'll deal with the flooring.
Okay.
I want to, well, there's literally nothing I can do at the moment. But sort of turning the whole house down. All the water off in the house, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I guess I wanna try and talk mostly about what you think the Alliance has or has not done for your organization, has done really well or could do better. I've gotten a lot of the initial history by this time.
You've probably gotten a lot of diverse diverse opinions.
Yeah, I have, and so I'm running. You guys got a fascinating website, by the way. It's one of the thoroughest websites I've seen an organization have.
Well, actually, what happened was we put that up. We were up on the web, like in early 90s.
Uh-huh.
And sort of the way it came about, I mean, well, actually, we sort of coexist with the Hammer Dulcimer discussion group, and so we run the website and we run the Hammer Dulcimer discussion group, and it all runs on just like a Unix shell account for like $5 a month.
Yeah.
So
well,
we're doing like 20,000 pieces of email a week, and like at festival time we do like 90,000 hits a month.
Right.
For $5.
Well, it's real thorough. I mean, in terms of all the scheduling in the Chicago area and Greater Chicago area.
Yeah, I wish I had some help.
Now, what's your role in Fox Valley?
Well, I was the founder and have been sort of the one sort of continuous person. Over the years, we've had sort of a number of people, either on individual projects like the festival or dances or concerts, or we basically do about 100 or so things a year. So there's some people that are involved, very few people that are involved in all of them.
Is it all volunteer?
Yeah. Yep.
Everything. It's amazing.
Yeah, we do 100 plus 100 to 120 things a year, including like 16 dances, and at this point we've throttled back some on concerts. We're still doing the 16 dances. We're doing the biggest folk festival in Illinois, and the website, and weekly music meetings, and monthly storytelling guild meetings, and
Jesus.
And it's all, I mean, there's no paid staff.
Now, your colleague in Chicago, Jim Hirsch, I think would believe it couldn't be done at that level.
Well, Jim is interesting. Jim, I've known Jim for years and years. Basically, Chicago was sort of an interesting microcosm, because when we started the Folklore Society in 1975, there was like 3 or 4 things in the area that happened. I mean, the Old Town School had been running at that point for years and years,
right,
more or less successfully. I mean, they've had long periods of time where, I mean, they were for a long period of time they were thinking about changing the name.
Yeah.
And dropping folk music, and Jim and I, Jim sort of came in on the second phase of the Folk Alliance stuff, and we've known each other for a long time. I think the Old Town School, well, this is sort of, I don't know, somewhere between. Well, no, it is for publication. I think the Old Town School does a wonderful job at a number of things. I mean, they've been really good at international music. With Hispanic music, they've done a wonderful job. They've done a real good job on international music. They do a lot of really good, strong traditional music, but they do. Well, I guess sort of the disappointment is, I think right now, if you look at kind of what my kind of my very conservative take on folk music, if you look at where it's being done in the Chicago area, seeing that you have quite a number of volunteer organizations, and you have the Old Town School that depends heavily on volunteers but is heavily financed.
Right.
I mean, Jim does very well, and he should. He's an incredible fundraiser. I don't know anybody personally that can generate the money that he does.
Yeah.
So whatever they pay him, he earns.
Yeah.
But he also will be the first one to tell you that he's not a traditional folk music person.
Right.
He basically sort of looks at it like, well, kind of in several lights. Some of the lights are that what money can be raised.
Yes.
And that doesn't. John, I'm busy. No, I'm using it here. Okay. Part of it is, like the Hispanic festival stuff. That actually generates a lot of money for the school.
Yeah.
And I don't begrudge that at all. It's the stuff that they do in terms of Hispanic music and the festival and everything else is a real good input to the folk community, and it's kind of good. Well, I wish it was better cross-pollination than it is.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody has figured out how to do that, to my knowledge.
When you say better cross-pollination, bringing in more ethnic groups?
Bringing in more ethnic groups and bringing the ethnic groups, sort of bringing the ethnic groups into the realization of the other stuff.
Right.
It's the problem that we've had all along has been, and kind of one of the big disappointments for me is we're one of the only groups in the area that kind of work between kind of the whole folk life thing.
Right.
Folk music, folk dance, and storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I've always hoped for is to try to sort of educate people to the realization that it's kind of all one thing.
Right.
It's like you don't have a problem defining folk music if you go to a dance and you see the music in action.
Sure.
It's obvious that that's what the music was there for.
Okay.
And the problem with, with the festival, I try as much as I can to bring in, various ethnic groups,
mm-hmm.
and they have a good time, but hopefully we educate people to that, and on the other hand, we also educate the groups to the fact that they're part of the folk community. It's
mm-hmm.
it's kind of educating both sides. The international, we work for our dances. We work at Fermilab, Fermi National Accelerator Lab.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they do all the quarks and all the new particle
okay.
stuff. They have on the premises a barn that was rehabbed 25 years ago as kind of it's a 100-year-old barn.
Yeah.
And they set it up as a for doing parties and things like that, kind of an employees recreation center.
Uh-huh.
And we started dancing out there because some of the people that were involved with us were also worked at Fermilab. So we've been dancing out there for close to 20 years. And there's two other groups actually that have started up in the meantime. One of them is like 12 to 15 years old, is Fermilab International Folk Dancers, and then there's Scottish Country Dancers.
Mm-hmm.
And we've kind of ended up, they work with us a lot on the festival, and kind of the input that we've had is they initially were interested in the dance stuff and they wanted to work the festival, but we resisted for a long time and said, well, we can't do it until we can have live music.
Okay.
That you can come out and you can dance and you can put on tapes, but that really doesn't show people anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's not the way it works. And so it's been kind of interesting because probably about 10 years ago they finally did figure out that they located some groups that could work with them. And now kind of the highlights of their events are the 3 or 4 a year where they bring in live bands.
Yeah, the Fermi Lab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the whole folk dance community through the Chicago area.
Okay. All right.
And now it's a big deal.
Yeah.
They say, well, for teaching and things like that, we can't weekly bring in bands.
Right.
But they also are trying to train people. A lot of the people that are dancers are also starting to work on, the concept of kind of having a house band.
Right. Uh-huh. So you can get the same group of people with the same musicians weekly?
Yeah, yeah. And so they're working on that, and to some degree they're doing it, but they also do, to more and more a degree all the time, special events where they bring in bands, and they do dancing to live bands, which 10 years ago was totally done to recorded music. And to me, that's one of the things that we've really managed to have a good positive influence on.
All right. Now, you were telling me earlier what you thought Old Town School, where it fell short, and I don't really want to direct it toward them, but I kind of would like to get an idea of what you think is, the wrong side of the coin, say, or the way not to do things.
Well, there a lot of where I see them falling short, and it's it's not falling short in terms of their charter, probably.
Mm-hmm. Right.
To me, it's kind of falling short in terms of folk music per se.
Okay. And
the problems I'm seeing right now is that, and this is kind of directed to the Old Town School to some degree, and to the Folk Alliance to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
There's just more and more and more contemporary music being done.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem with that. It's just that, if you go to the music that kind of has the undisputed folk music tag, the
right.
traditional music, that's dying on the vine.
Yeah.
It really is in bad shape. And in the Chicago area, and I would guess pretty much everywhere. I mean, we have the Old Town School. You have a multi-million-dollar, folk music facility. But if you look at traditional music, if you look at kind of, ethnic music, kind of music that isn't aimed at mainstream marketing,
mm-hmm.
music that's kind of tied to root stuff.
Yeah.
Most of it's being done at the arts centers, and much to their credit.
Right.
A lot of people have worked with them for years, and they're finally. I mean, we've worked with 3 or 4 of the arts centers out here, and we spent years kind of finally educating them to the point where you could say, hey, you guys are spending tons of money on audience development, where you're virtually willing to lay out $5 a head
mm-hmm.
to get a new face in the seat.
Yeah.
So why don't you do? We would do things. Finally got them to the point where they would call and say, okay, we're stuck. We don't know what to do for Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do for and this was a particular thing. In fact, a woman that we had worked with at Fermi Lab for a long time, she called on the way into a meeting, and this was probably 12 years ago. She said, we've got a meeting, nobody knows what to do. They've got ideas, they're trying to do this, trying to do that. What could we do? And I said, well, what about Ladysmith Black Mambazo?
Mm-hmm.
And she knew who it was at that point. I mean, at that point, they just had the Green Linnet albums.
Okay.
And she had heard some of the stuff, but she went in and talked, brought it up at the meeting. And one other person, it was actually one of the people from the drama department, had heard them, and they said, "Oh my God, you think we could get them?" And they did.
Great.
And I mean, it was like a revelation. People, they did them. Well, they're still working with them, but they've done them a number of times.
So, if I understand you correctly, if the Old Town School is doing anything wrong, it's just in I don't know, kind of maybe not using the heritage of its name to the greatest level that it might.
Yeah, and I mean, they aren't. There have been periods over the years where the Old Town School did absolutely a terrible job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that hasn't been lately.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, to be kind of fully fair, it hasn't been since Jim was there. It was kind of under some of the other.
And that's been a while now. He's been there at least.
He's been there quite a while.
At least a dozen years, I believe, as ED.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've been coexisting here the whole time.
Right. Okay.
So time kind of takes on a different perspective.
Absolutely. You can easily remember pre-Jim.
Yeah. I mean, well, when I started to talk about 1975 and sort of what was happening then.
Yeah.
And in January of 1975, and we've never actually figured out what it was that did that. But in January of 75, there was 3 things that happened that were pretty pivotal in the Chicago area. I mean, pivotal outside of the Old Town School and a lot of the club stuff that was happening. But well, for out here, west of Chicago, was when I sort of started doing the first stuff for the Folklore Society.
Mm-hmm.
And north of Chicago, Doug Miller was organizing David Adler Cultural Center. I don't know if you've talked to Doug.
No, I haven't. Was he on the board of FA for a while? Or?
Doug was sort of involved. Doug was out at Malibu.
Okay.
And basically Malibu ended up being a struggle between the small organizations and the big organizations. And it was a whole lot of distrust.
Uh-huh.
But Doug at that point was executive director for David Adler Cultural Center, which is up in Libertyville, north of Chicago, about as far north as we are west.
Right.
And he was at that point in '75 starting the Libertyville School of Folk and Old Time Music under the Cultural Center.
Okay.
At the same time, Emily Friedman in Chicago started Come for the Sing magazine.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny because at the time none of us knew each other, and within 3 or 4 years we were sort of inextricably bound. And so I worked with Emily on Come for to Sing for like the next 10 years or so until we shut down.
Right.
And Doug is sort of one of the people that, I mean, Jim and I used to have long. I remember one morning we were out in Boston or out in Philadelphia, and we were doing the bylaws.
Right.
And Jim said something. We were sitting at the breakfast table, and I told Jim, I said, Jim, I think you think we all want to be the Old Town School. I said, I don't. I said, if I want to be anybody, I would like to be David Adler Cultural Center. It's like, there's an understanding there that you guys sometimes miss. But I mean, it's sort of the school, Jim has done wonderful stuff for the school, and the school has done wonderful stuff. But sometimes it's, I guess to me, I mean, for Folk Alliance, when we were putting that together, we were sort of flying on our own money. I mean, I probably spent in 10 or 15 years ago money, a couple of $1,000s a year, just to fly out and put stuff together.
Right.
And there was, at that point, there was nothing being reimbursed.
Yeah.
And the people, I mean, I knew all the people that were on the board, and to some degree, I was going because I needed to reinforce some of the people, and I needed to counteract some of the people.
Mm-hmm.
and not that they didn't have a valid point, but I didn't want that to be the main point.
Well, what were these points? Why don't you tell me the nature of the disagreement between big and small organizations, or however else you want to characterize it? Categorize it, yeah.
It sort of comes down a lot to the definition kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? Are we going to be all inclusive, or are we going to be exclusive? Are we going to be mainly traditional? Are we going to be educational or entertainment?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. After we put the organization together, most of the stuff in doing the bylaws was coming up with kind of protectionist things where, you got to make. I mean, most of the talking that we did, most of the arguing that we did, and I mean, it came down to finally we brought in professional facilitators.
Right. Yeah.
And that was actually very eye-opening. That was Jim.
Yeah.
And Jim had when he first brought that up, I thought, oh, this is some more of that Old Town School, high money bullshit.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be one of the most interesting experiences that I think I've probably ever participated in. I mean, I left that whole experience with a real appreciation for good facilitators.
That's interesting.
It was amazing. I mean, I couldn't believe how much we got done in a short period.
Uh-huh.
And that was at Jim's behest. I mean,
Right.
he finally got to the point where he said, believe me, please. We're going to get more done if we can do this, because otherwise we're just going to sit here and argue. And in retrospect, he was right. We would have sat there and pot-shotted each other for who knows how long. But
you ended up with an organization that was so inclusive that I guess some say that it's lost a lot of things.
Well, yeah. I mean, I had hoped, and I mean, I don't think it has that much to do with the organization.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has to do with expectations,
Uh-huh.
because I can track a lot of the same disappointments that I have with Folk Alliance. I can track them to Fox Valley.
Okay.
And the people that I would agree with or disagree with on Folk Alliance had nothing to do with Fox Valley.
Right.
I think one of the things with the Folk Alliance was you had a very high level of people. It was the first time in folk music, and I mean that tracks back to Clark and Elaine Weissman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they actually pulled the people together with a different idea. The idea that was there when everybody came in was not the idea that was there when everybody left.
Mm-hmm.
it was a pretty amazing weekend.
Can we concretize some of these things? I mean, I'm getting a sense of disagreements. I'm not getting a sense of what they were actually, I guess, from you, or differing goals. You know, what were your own expectations as you started? Your own expectations or your hopes? Maybe hopes is a stronger word.
Well, actually, I mean, most of the people that went in there, well, let me give you my perspective of kind of a timeline of what happened.
Sure.
Now, this isn't definitive.
I understand.
I'm just sort of speculating on what happened.
Sure.
I had known, kind of through Comfort of Sing and through the other stuff, I had known Clark and Elaine, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, just, I mean, I knew the stuff they were doing out there, and kind of like the way most of us know pre-Folk Alliance, the way most of us knew. You heard about stuff, you saw stuff in Sing Out, you saw stuff in calendars, and you got mailings occasionally, and you knew that people were in there, and you knew they were active, and you knew certain names.
Right.
And so this rumble came down that the Weissmans and California Traditional Music Society were putting this thing together, and they wanted to bring everybody together in Malibu, and you know, it was kind of a by invitation thing.
Right.
But it wasn't, you know, if you were interested enough to call, you could probably get an invitation.
Sure.
A number of people that were sort of people that were working on key things were, you know, were notified of it, and other people passed the word, and people called and said, yeah, can we come? And so they had stuff kind of all set up, and they had this camp, and it was kind of neat.
Right.
But once we got there, it was, I mean, the first thing was, it was kind of funny because everybody knew everybody, but they'd never seen anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was like, you know, in fact, somebody suggested what they should have done was put out a sheet and put a number on everybody and just had people walk around and say, okay, don't tell them who you are. and you know, see if people could figure out who was who.
Right.
And I don't think we could have. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like Art Manius that was working with the bluegrass folks.
Right.
Had done that. I had always pictured him as this kind of stately old colonel guy. and you know, at that point, he was kind of this young,
Yeah.
you know scrubbed-looking kind of southern chubby guy.
Yeah, I know Art.
Yeah, and I mean, that blew me away.
Right.
But it sort of became obvious after the first day or so that I mean, there was the Weissmans had drafted a set of bylaws and everything else, and I think they believed. I mean, they proposed it like this is just a set of bylaws, and you know, this is a working point.
Right.
There was also stuff happening in the background where there was people, you know, they would take people sort of out to dinner and would kind of try to sell the
bylaws.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And people started to catch the drift on this, and there was like, well, by like Saturday afternoon, there was kind of an open revolt where people stood up and said, you know, we know that you've been going out and trying to sell these bylaws to people, and we're worried. I mean, we're small organizations, and you're talking to the big organizations, and we think if this gets approved, that it's not going to be a pretty thing. And I mean, it was pretty weird.
Was there anything real to that? Bylaws being often pretty innocuous documents in the end.
Well, I would have before that I would have argued. After Folk Alliance, I came out with a whole new appreciation for the Constitution. I mean, we spent you know, days. Well, we spent the equivalent. I mean, when we were doing the stuff in Philly,
Uh-huh.
we would start at 8 in the morning and go to like 10 at night, and we would do it for like 4 days, and then we would 3 or 4 days, and then we would go back and would sort of work on that,
Right.
and then we would come back and do it again.
What underlay this concern about big versus small? What philosophical or methodological concerns underlay this fear on the part of small organizations that they were maybe getting steamrollered into something they wouldn't like?
Well, I think a lot of it was the idea that there was going to be a national organization that was representing folk music as representing the organizations that were presenting folk music.
Okay.
And a lot of the people, and I mean it's a lot of the same stuff that we've talked about here. Now it's not like a lot of the stuff, and kind of my belief right now. If you were to say, okay, where is most, and not sort of assigning any priorities on, is it more important to present international music or whatever.
Right.
But if someone were to say to me, where is most of the folk music being presented right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's the dance community.
Okay.
Because the traditional square and contra dance community all around the country, virtually everybody dances to live music. They do it exactly the same way they've done it for 400 years.
Right.
Or, well, more than that, 400 years in this country, and then you track it back earlier.
Sure.
But it's music that's being done in the same style. To a large degree, it's being passed by the same method that it always was.
Okay.
A lot of the musicians are still learning it the same way it's always been learned. It's not to a large degree formalized. And also the writers. I mean, a lot of the people that, like Shock and Farewell and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
even the stuff that's being composed is being composed in the same tradition.
Right.
And it's kind of moving ahead by the same rules.
Right.
So it's still a very dynamic, very, it's not a, it's not a staid community actually, because you can take the same tunes and you can go to 5 different parts of the country.
Yeah.
And the styles still exist within the fiddlers there, or within the banjo players, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that, I mean, we had, once the distrust sort of started, it basically went to open revolt.
I guess there was a concern that the Philly Folk Festival wasn't going to be concerned with the type of thing you've just described in the same way you would be.
Yeah, well, the Philly Folk Festival.
I'm using them as an example. I don't mean to pick on those folks, but...
No, they're a good example.
Yeah.
But also the Old Town School.
Right, okay.
There was a lot of distrust there.
Okay.
But the Philly Folk Festival is an especially good example, because I knew a few of the people that were involved with Philly.
Right.
I mean, this is an organization that's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And their motto is, we don't take grants, we give grants. And they're right.
Yeah.
They basically, from what I understand, they basically were the initial funding source for what's the Songwriters Texas Festival?
Oh, Kerrville.
Kerrville.
Yeah.
And they basically bankrolled all the initial Kerrville stuff.
Yeah.
And but the funny thing about, and this was the first experience that most of the people had with Philly, was Philly, they have this huge organization, and there's probably 4 or 5 different kind of factions, people that handle different things. And for the most part, they've handled these things for years. You know, it's like it's like politics in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got this person, and they handle security.
Uh-huh.
They've got their people, and this has been in place for years. It's very well defined. These people don't trust each other at all. I mean, they would follow each other around and would make sure that they were at the meetings to be sure that nobody said anything about Philly that impinged on their part of it. And I mean, they do a great job, and it's an amazing thing. But when you start to watch it, you go, whoa.
Okay.
It is very bizarre. And I mean, when people would get, you know, like Jim would get into this stuff where he would sit there, and you've got essentially all volunteer organizations. Now, here's a guy, albeit he's raised tons of money and has bailed the school out of all sorts of trouble, but he's going in front of all volunteer people and saying, you guys got to be professional.
Yeah.
You can't be doing this, you know, like, you know, you go out there and you just be loosey-goosey and you do this stuff. You know, you've got to get out there and you've got to promote this, and you got to, and people are saying, who is this asshole? The asshole isn't for publication.
I understand.
And, you know,
I've heard it before.
Yeah.
Also, Jim's probably heard it before.
oh, I'm sure. Well, he's heard it from me.
Yeah.
So, you know, part of it was founded, part of it was just suspicion.
Yeah.
But I think people worried about, you know, I mean, you had Margot Blevin from Augusta, and I mean, this is something. It was the first time that all sort of the major folk music people got together.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jim Hirsch does not have a clue what Augusta is about.
Right.
And he would tell you that. I mean, it isn't a slam to Jim.
Yeah.
Jim is a fundraiser.
Right.
Jim is a 501c3 driver.
Yeah.
I mean, he can. I don't know anybody in the not-for-profit sector. I mean, in Chicago, aside from maybe one or two or maybe three of the real high-level theater people or something, there isn't anybody that can raise money like Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, he can raise money cold. He basically can find money in the newspaper.
Right.
And he's amazing. You know, I really envy what he does. Now, I think he could. I think the money that's raised could be better applied. But on the other hand, it could be a whole lot worse applied.
Right.
It has been in the past. The school does. You know, I mean, you know, if I criticize, it's criticism kind of honing what they do.
Uh-huh.
Saying they're spending all that money and they're not doing anything.
Sure.
They're spending a lot of money and they're doing a lot.
Right.
They have a ton of students. They're introducing a lot of people to a lot of stuff. They've really had good influences on a lot of things. They could have done better. We all could have done better.
What areas would you like to see them do better in?
I actually would like to see him do better in kind of American traditional music, dance.
Yeah.
And you know, that's it's kind of the international music and the ethnic music has really become a catchphrase, and that's a real good way to attract corporate money.
Right. Absolutely.
And you know, so it isn't a bad thing to do.
Sure.
So you know, I can't criticize Jim if I say, well, you know, why aren't you doing sort of an old-timey music festival,
Right.
instead of the Hispanic music festival,
Mm-hmm.
you say, well, good reason might be, if I do the Hispanic music festival, I can maybe spend $100,000 on the festival, and I can get, 10,000 in corporate grants.
Right.
If I do the Hispanic music festival, I can spend 50,000, and I can get $1 million.
Okay.
So you say, okay, well.
So the first example was the old-timey festival. You mean? You said, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so I mean, even the one thing that I have to admire about Jim is he'll sit right in front of you and he'll say, listen, I know how to run this stuff. He will sit there and say, I am not a folkie.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are operating on the gut feeling.
Sure.
Rather than the organizationally, I mean, what I've always done with Fox Valley is we've tried to keep as much of the dance and storytelling things and keep that stuff going, but figure out how you can do it kind of in the face of how do you kind of share between stuff that makes money, stuff that loses money.
Right. So was there a concern on the part of smaller organizations? I'm going to use a phrase that Shelley Romales of Canada used with me. She considered herself an advocate for I think the phrase she used was the people who made music on the back porch, or was there a concern that a national organization that was driven largely by the Old Town School or Philly would kind of help to further redefine the word folk away from traditional music, would direct money away into these big events with singer-songwriters or things of that nature?
Yes.
Does that articulate the concern a little bit?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And it actually articulates, I think, a good bit of the disappointment too.
Yeah.
Because that's